So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure hosting you for this discussion. My name is Judy Njino, Executive Director of the Global Compact Network Kenya. As we get ready to start, I'll encourage all of you to just introduce yourself on the chat function. Let us know who you are, the organization that you represent, so that we can have fruitful deliberations as we go along, and that we can also network at the same time, now that we also don't have the luxury of meeting in person. So allow me to kick off the start of this session. I am pleased to welcome you this morning to this high-level dialogue on how to align your business strategy to the Sustainable Development Goals using the SDG Action Manager. So today's interactive session has been organized by the Global Compact Network Kenya, the Global Compact Network Ghana, and BILAB East Africa. We hope that each and every one of you here, after this session, will leave with a clear understanding of the importance of integrating a principles-based approach to your company's sustainability goals and impact management. We all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a humanitarian and economic crisis, which threatens to push the Sustainable Development Goals off track. But the crisis also presents an opportunity for businesses everywhere to transform themselves. If we work together to align with the global goals, we can recover better together and strengthen our ability to do business and build our markets. We all know, coming from Kenya, Ghana, and across the region, that Africa has one of the fastest growing economy. However, it is clear that the pandemic has adversely affected businesses in this region. And this is especially true for SMEs, who we all know have a great value in the business ecosystem. We firmly believe that the Sustainable Development Goals cannot be achieved without activating support and leadership from both large companies and SMEs in the region. And that's why this conversation with you all is so important today, because we can only move the development of the African continent through a sustainable trajectory pathway if we all did our parts, both large, small businesses, and across the different sectors that we operate. So ladies and gentlemen, today we will hear the business case for the Sustainable Development Goals. A lot has been said around what the goals can do for business, but we also know that business can do so much more for the Sustainable Development Goals, and more so in this decade of action, where we are really trying to bridge the gap that currently exists and that have been occasioned by the COVID pandemic. So you'll be able to hear from this session best practices from leaders, not just here in Kenya, but also from Ghana, as we are partnering with our local network in Ghana, as well as how you can apply the SDG Action Manager as a tool that you can use for your business to drive impact, identify priorities and entry points of how to take action on the Sustainable Development Goals. So I encourage you all to interact with this particular tool, even after this webinar, and see how else you can strategically advance your business goals as you're also working towards the SDGs. And I would say that for many of us who are already active in this space, we've tended to take on an approach of cherry picking on the goals and choosing the goals that we think are the easiest and the fastest that we can work towards achieving the goals. But we know this approach doesn't necessarily work because it does not account for the full capacities of the business in terms of how you can bring positive outcomes to deliver on the goals. So we are intentionally having this conversation with you to encourage you to use this particular tool to help you better understand and position your business strategy, even as you advance the Sustainable Development Goals. So as I open this session, I look forward to deeper engagements and conversations with you all. And I hope we'll be able also to just give our reflections and experiences within our own business as we challenge ourselves to really, ramp up ambition and the scale of action in this decade of action. So with that, I thank you all and wish us all fruitful deliberations. I'd like to invite my colleague Lucy Muigai from BLAB.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you for those opening remarks. So our agenda for today is a brief organization background from both BLAB and UN Global Compact. We'll then move to an overview of the SDG Action Manager, and then we'll have a 40-minute panel session with now business leaders showcasing how you can align your business strategy using the SDG Action Manager. Then we'll open it up for the participants to ask questions and answer some questions to the panelists themselves. Then we do have some upcoming opportunities that we'd like you to plug in, and then we'll have some closing remarks. So as Judy mentioned, my name is Lucy Muigai, and I'm the head of operations for BLAB East Africa. BLAB is a global not-for-profit transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. Our mission is to accelerate a shift in how business is done in Africa, as not just for profit, but also for purpose, and to encourage businesses to work towards a positive impact for all their stakeholders, their workers, customers, community, and the environment. The market is demanding change. In the last 20 years, we've seen a cultural shift from consumers demanding not only good products from companies to now demanding holistic good businesses that have a positive impact on both the society and the environment. At BLAB, our integrated approach towards this systemic change is through, first, building a community of thousands of credible leaders that have met a high bar of social and environmental performance. These are our certified B corporations. We then create tools to make it easy for other businesses to aspire and follow. Finally, we inspire billions of consumers, workers, investors, and others to support these organizations that are using their businesses as a force for good. Our work in Africa is centered around 4 main areas. We support for-profit businesses, measure, manage, and report on their impact using our assessment tools. Currently, more than 1,100 companies in East and South Africa are measuring their impact using our tools. We provide capacity building workshops to train businesses in adopting sustainable business practices and identify areas of improvement. We promote mission-aligned governance as a better alternative to the limitations of traditional business forms. This way, businesses can protect their long-term vision and fully commit to using business as a force for good. And this year, we are also involved in advocacy work for policy change. Globally, we currently have over 3,800 businesses in 150 industries that are certified as B corporations and balance profit and purpose. In Africa, we have over 50 B Corps that have committed to deliver the highest standard of all-round positive impact. This slide highlights some of our B Corps in Africa. Our B Corps are for-profit businesses that have been recognized to be purpose-driven for their innovative approach towards poverty alleviation and job creation, especially for the youth, rural communities, and women. Our B Corps include Daprem Africa, a data outsourcing company that has helped integrate youth into the technology space by training 9,000 youth and offering both direct and indirect youth empowerment to an additional 5,000 youth and differently abled persons who are often underemployed. Another example is Soko, which works mostly with women from low-income families to create beautiful jewelry and has ensured that artisans earn 5 times more than the average artisans. Other B Corps like Ecotolibrium are working for conservation through local entrepreneurship, poverty reduction, and empowerment. Some benefits of B Corp certification is your organization will join a global community of leaders where you can connect online or in person, build client and vendor relationships within a powerful community of businesses. The certification will enable your company appeal to investors and attract funding opportunities for your business operations. And the certification will also help you build credibility and differentiate from competitors, and also helping your company stand out and stand by your organization's mission. I'm now handing over to my colleague Tolu to speak more about the UN Global Compact. Thank you.
Tolu, you're muted.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Tolu Kweku-Lacroix. I am the Program Coordinator and Head of Secretariat of Global Compact Ghana. And I'd like to share a brief overview of what the UN Global Compact is. Next slide, please. So the UN Global Compact started when Kofi Annan, the Secretary General, was addressing business leaders at Davos. And he called for a compact between the United Nations and business leaders around the world so as to put a human face on the marketplace, so that business could now be seen as a business for good and not just simply business for profit. Next slide, please. So what is the UN Global Compact and what does it stand for? After consultation with the business leaders, they came up with what we call the 10 principles. The 10 principles are rooted in human rights, labor, the environment, and anti-corruption. And this framework is what the UN Global Compact uses to assist companies to not only achieve sustainability, but also add and contribute to our world. And these principles are also connected very closely with the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals, as we all know, is intended to eliminate poverty and raise livelihoods of peoples all around the world, as well as to protect the planet in which we all live and depend upon. Next one, please. Yes. So over the years, the Global Compact has grown immensely. Back in 2000, the initiative started off with 40 companies signing onto the initiative and pledging to adopt their business practices along the 10 principle way. Today, the Global Compact is over 10,000 companies, over about 3,000 plus non-business members, in over 160 countries. And these members have been engaged in over 1,700 awareness raising, capacity building programs, workshops, and events. And this has resulted in over 180 companies and private-public partnerships, with over 3,000 companies engaged currently with dialogues with the government. And this is important because it is through Global Compact's way that companies are enabled to really push the SDG agenda, applying the 10 principles. Next slide, please. So the question is, how does the UN Global Compact do this? What is its process? What the UN Global Compact does is to assist companies to communicate their progress on the 10 principles using an approach called non-financial reporting. These reportings include the communication of progress report, where companies identify certain areas in which their company operates and how they contribute significantly to each of the 10 principles, be it in labor, looking at labor standards, for example, the environment, looking at how a company is impacting the environment, or how a company might be supporting technologies that would enable to better preserve its management of resources with the environment. It also talks about anti-corruption and so forth. And so what this method does is that we assist the companies to identify some of these areas and then to communicate how they are making progress in adapting significant changes to improve how the company operates to improve its sustainability. Through that sustainability journey, the Global Compact provides guidance tools, and resources to enable those companies to assist them on that journey. Many companies start at different points. Some are advanced in their sustainability efforts. Some companies are novices. But what the Global Compact does is provides these tools to enable them to progress significantly. Some of these tools include the Academy, which the Global Compact offers year-round courses that significantly touch on a variety of themes and topics within the 10 principles and within sustainability issues relevant to companies. And it also includes partnering with other organizations to have tools and other benchmarking programs that companies can use to actually, in real time, see how much progress their companies are making and to take the right decisions to continue to improve. And then finally, after a company has gone through this process and has been able to really advance as a sustainability organized firm, they're able to now join the corporate sustainability agenda and work with global partners around the world to make big strides in achieving the SDGs and the 10 principles. So some of these things include action platforms, getting involved in the global impact initiatives, and many more. Next slide, please. Yes. So now I'm going to briefly discuss the SDG Action Manager tool. The SDG Action Manager tool is very much rooted in the Sustainable Development Goals. As I mentioned before, we all are very familiar what the Sustainable Development Goals are by the United Nations. The Sustainable Development Goals is picking up from where the Millennium Development Goals left off, and that is eliminating poverty and really significantly improving life on Earth. So the Sustainable Development Goals offers a unique opportunity for companies to get involved. It offers an opportunity for companies to partner, to work together. But to make sure that this happens, it's very significant that all stakeholders play their roles and business has its parts to play. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, however, we are not on track to achieve the SDGs by 2030. Despite certain progress that lots of companies and nations around the world are making, no country is currently on track, and that includes both developing countries and developing countries to achieve all the goals by 2030. So some of the goals we have here pointed out is extreme poverty. This is goal number 1. We have 900 million people as of 2019 who are in extreme poverty. And extreme poverty is measured by those living on less than $2 a day. When we talk about gender equality, goal 5, we notice that at the pace in which policies are being adapted and implemented, and when we look at companies actually adopting gender balancing measures in their company when it comes to equal pay for equal work, we note that there's about 257 years at the pace in which we're going before that gap can be closed. And yet we want to achieve all these goals by 2030. And then as we look at goal 13, climate action, a very, very critical goal because we all live on this planet. The world is increasingly heading towards 3.2 degrees Celsius increase in temperatures, well beyond the thresholds of 1.5. If we do not solve this problem, there will be no life, there will be no nations, there will be no businesses to run. It's a very critical goal that we just cannot ignore. Next slide, please. So as of 2016, when the goals were first introduced, businesses were very optimistic about their role to play in making this dream of 2030 a reality. If you look at the right, you'll see that 78% of CEOs saw opportunities to contribute to the global goals through their businesses. We also saw that about half in the survey said that businesses would be the most important actor in delivery of the goals. 3 years later, as of 2019, we see that the confidence from businesses is down because we are behind. 48% of companies say that they're actually implementing the sustainability into their operations. We see that 21% of CEOs feel that businesses is currently playing a critical role. So that means that not only are we behind, but confidence from businesses is less. And probably one of the most critical factors of this is that many companies are not sure about how to start, where to start, and how to move forward. So it's very important that now more than ever, tools, programs, and other things are introduced to make sure that companies are equipped to start, to really make a significant start in shaping the company's agenda and strategy towards achieving the SDGs. Next slide, please. And that's where the SDG Action Manager tool comes into play. So the tool was developed by B-Lab in collaboration with UN Global Compact and other partners. And the purpose of this tool was to make it a very easily accessed tool for companies to use to enable them to take action on the development sustainable goals. The tool was launched last year on the 29th of August and is an impact management solution to enable businesses around the world to take meaningful action and track their progress on the SDGs. It brings together B-Lab's impact assessment, the 10 principles of the United Nations Global Compact, and the sustainable goals, and has been informed by work and feedback of a range of stakeholders, including high-profile experts in corporate sustainability, civil society, the United Nations, and the Academy. And so today we are very pleased to introduce the tool to you and to give you a brief overview of what the tool is like and how it can help companies. Next slide, please. So the tool starts by helping companies start at the very basics, giving them a starting point, giving them a baseline to work with. It's very similar to how the UN Global Compact way is with its 10 principles and its principle approach. Not every company starts off very experienced. Some are quite experienced, some have a plan, some don't have a plan. So what the tool does is allows you to take a look at your company profile, see who you are, what your values are as a company, what type of business you're engaged in, and to see how you can start to make a way to really add value and to also to start making significant commitments, looking at all aspects of your operations, looking at your supply chains, and the business model that you have that creates both profit but also impact. At the same time, and most critically, the tool will help you to identify risks for each areas of the SDGs that you are trying to implement. And the risks are important because they enable companies to understand what they need to do to mitigate against what could threaten their impact on that SDG, and to make sure that they're maximizing as much positive initiatives as possible. So the tool allows you to set your goal and track your improvements, allows you to basically visualize your progress and stay motivated. It allows you to set goals, deadlines, priorities, form action plans, and so forth. It allows a company to also have multiple members also sign into that particular program. So you could have different departments, let's say HR or operations, and these departments can work together to see what their roles are in the general strategy of the company to really advance certain SDG goals and to measure the progress that each department is making. And of course, most important, allows you to benchmark and make significant improvements. Next slide, please. Yes, so as I mentioned before, you have a baseline module approach. So basically, the base mark is designed to see where your company begins, and it's very comprehensive and rooted in the 10 principles. The baseline module covers cross-cutting principles across all the SDGs and demonstrates a general commitment to them by focusing on specific topics. And these topics range from human rights, labor practices, environmental management systems, and good governance. And it's all rooted in the underlying targets of very specific SDGs related to where that company operates. So for example, if you're a company that operates on the seas, say shipping lanes and so forth, obviously water is something that you would concentrate on, and life below seas. What is your impact to life below seas? And these business models is also designed to look at internal operations, supply chains, collective actions, and also looks at risk level that covers many aspects of these businesses. Next slide, please. Yes. So after that baseline has been set by the tool, then the users can now begin to prioritize some of the SDGs. Now, as mentioned before, even with the UN Global Compact's principled approach, you don't tackle all the SDGs at once. It's not expected that you tackle all of them at once. However, with our principled approach, you would tackle one principle that would touch on 5, sometimes 6 SDGs. And with this tool, it is also the same. In this tool, it is expected that you will tackle at least up to 5 SDGs. And so the modules will take you through that so that you can begin to arrange and organize your companies to focus on meeting objectives within those SDGs. Next slide, please. Okay. So the tool will ask a series of questions, and these questions will then be filled out by the different participants of the tool. And so the questions are broken down by looking at your business model, your internal operations, supply chains, and then looking at the risk level. So on the right, you can see on gender equality, you can see that the risk level is at 23%, 23.6%. For the water, clean water and sanitation is listed at 9.6%. Affordable and clean energy is listed at 32%. So then it gives points looking at how these things were broken down, as I mentioned before, within the business model, internal operations, and so forth. And it's color-coded so that it's very easy to understand where your risk level is. So we can see, looking here, that for gender equality, the risk level is quite high. For clean water, the risk level is relatively low. And then for affordable and clean energy, the risk level is medium. So this is very useful in allowing the company to see where they should really shift focus to maintain a certain balance in terms of achieving the SDG goals, and also knowing which areas needs most vital attention and policy reform. Next slide, please. So here's an example of some of the questions that are asked. So these are quite detailed. So you select a number of the questions that are asked. So for this one on climate action, it will ask you a series of questions of how much do you believe your company is a risk to that particular SDG that you are looking at. And so they have a range of questions, and they cover all of the SDGs. And this one will actually allow a company to think more deeply about some of the things that they are doing that they may not even be aware of that could pose serious risks. Next slide, please. Right. So the other aspect of the tool is functionality. So as you can see here to the left, it will ask you questions. For example, here, what benefits does your company provide to full-time tenured workers to supplement government programs? So they have a list of potential options that you can choose. Some of them, like you can see here, disability covers and accident insurance, private supplemental health insurance, and so forth. A lot of companies, especially within the UN Global Compact setting, will be familiar with some of these options because we do talk about them. But here, after you make your selection, you can also add additional comments below here and insert documents and so forth. And that kind of will help guide whether to add to the list that is here or to also add discussions or comments for things to be discussed. So as we mentioned before, you have multiple people in the organization who are able to log on to the program through the company's profile, and so they will also begin to see some of the comments that may have been written here as you've organized your sheets. So you can say, one department can realize, oh, we do not offer, say, life insurance. Oh, we do not do this. So let me come down to activities and comments and make a comment that says, these are some policies that I think we need to do. We're doing okay in some areas, but we need to add a little bit more. So that really allows for a company to really understand across the board what they're doing and to work together to even discuss some of the best ways forward. Next slide, please. Okay. So some of the final notes to be pointed out is that this is for internal reporting. So all of these things are exclusively to help guide a company to look at the data and to make the right decision. So all this data is confidential. It's only for companies only. And some other notes about this platform. A lot of the members of the UN Global Compact and other companies who are interested tend to be NGOs. These tools is specifically more tailored for companies. However, NGOs and government agencies also have operations, and through the work that they do, they could also touch on some of these aspects. So they are welcome, of course, to take the tool and to use it, but primarily these tools are for businesses. And one of the points listed here is that there's not an overall score for an entire assessment. The purpose of this tool is not necessarily to be 100% great at everything, but is to guide companies to know where they are and to actually track what significant achievements they're making towards the SDGs. The SDGs is, it's something we want to get done in 10 years. That's where we want to be. But we know that it is a process, and what this tool does is enables companies to go through that process, to start at a baseline, to make improvements, and to continue their sustainability journey, and to continue to contribute to a better world. Thank you very much. I will now hand it back over to Lucy.
Thank you, Tolu. Thank you so much. We are now having our panel session that is being moderated by Nguyen Kimani. Over to you, Nguyen. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us to discuss this important topic. I think from Tolu's presentation, you were able to see the situation we are in terms of how our climate is being impacted by our actions and how individuals are experiencing the backlash of lack of sustainable practices. And so in this next session, we would like to interact with businesses who have already begun to implement sustainability practices. And what we try to do is use a panel that is wide ranged. So we have large corporations like Sassini PLC, and then we have a consulting firm, and then we also have an IT firm. And our intention really is just to get a practical example from these leaders, especially since Tolu has already taken us through the technical bit of the SDG Action Manager. So this morning, we are pleased to have our panelists. I'll start by asking them to introduce themselves, also tell us a little bit about your organization, how large it is, how long you've been in operations. So as is the custom, we say ladies first. We'll start with Gladys Kivati. If you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Good morning, Gwen. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Gladys Kivati. I lead a team at Sustainable Business Consulting, and we're a sustainability consulting firm that is registered in Kenya. We've been in existence since 2015. That gives us around 7 years in operations. And what we mainly aim to do is to engage and inspire businesses to reimagine their business model, as well as strategies so that they can actually achieve a nexus of economic prosperity, society equity, as well as integrate environmental sustainability in the operations. And core to what we believe in is, can businesses really become future fit? Looking at the definition of an SME, you realize an SME, looking at the growth trajectory, if an SME surpasses the 5-year or even the 3-year mark, it's considered to be a successful enterprise. So our main aim is trying to support enterprises become future fit by integrating good environmental practices, social practices, as well as good economic practices. And we are a B Corp. We are really a proud B Corp, if I would say so. And why we are part of this community is because we believe we cannot, enhance this whole idea of sustainability in exclusion. So we work together with institutions that are trying to promote this agenda of good business practices and responsible business practices even as we implement. So we work a lot with enterprise support organization, incubators and accelerators, trying to work with them, even non-governmental organizations in their projects, trying to bring around the whole issue of sustainability, enterprise support, work also with investors who want to invest in responsible businesses, helping them look for these enterprises as well as support them going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gladys. I saw a question earlier in the chat already about experts and support for people who want to go on this journey. So I think we are in the right place at this time. I would like to move on to Robert Okine. If you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all participants joining us today. I am Robert Ochiang, the CEO and founder of BUSYS, which stands for Better World Systems. So BUSYS is an information technology organization specializing in developing management information systems for humanitarian programs, which are championed by government agencies and organizations that advance sustainable development goals. In the last decade, we have made a commitment to deliver life-changing digital solutions to support sustainable development initiatives in the humanitarian sector across developing countries. We have delivered digital solutions in 61 project countries in Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Oceania regions, which has impacted 15 out of the 17 SDGs and over 50 million lives globally. In almost 11 years of our existence, we worked with a team of 109 people from 10 countries championing digital transformation. As an advocate for SDG, I believe in using every opportunity to promote the importance of aligning business decisions and initiative to the SDGs. In leading the operations and the decision-making processes of my organization, it is my priority to use technology as a transformation tool to advance the SDGs, especially gender equality and reducing inequalities among societies. Thank you very much.
Wow, it looks like your reach is international and very deliberate. We'll be looking forward to hearing more about all of that. And lastly, I would like to welcome Mr. Martin Ochiang to talk about, introduce yourself and your business.
So thank you very much, Gwing, and everybody on the call. It's my hope that you can all hear me clearly. So my name is Martin Ochiang. I'm the Group Managing Director of Sasini PLC, which is Kenya's largest locally owned agricultural business, founded 70 years ago. So unlike the other leaders on the call, and I get very happy when I see new businesses come onto the fore and do great things like we're seeing across those two leaders that have already introduced themselves. Sasini is an old business, founded in 1952, listed on the Nairobi Securities Exchange since then, and leading in the agricultural sector for that whole time. And we are involved in the growing and primary production into primary product marketing and export of tea, coffee, macadamia, and avocado. And we also do dairy production for milk supply in the local market in Kenya. And we sell value-added products in tea and coffee in the local market as well. And so, unlike, I guess, the other examples, this is a big corporate. And I'm looking forward to sharing what the big corporates are doing in this area of sustainability to help drive these sustainable development goals. And any questions that would be centered around there, I would be very happy to tackle. I guess before we hand over back to Gwing, it's just really imperative to thank the UN Global Compact and together with the B-Lab for putting this together. I personally think it's an excellent platform for us talking about the things that we need to be getting on with to drive these goals. We really don't have time. We have just under 10 years to get these goals met. And I think the commitment is there. It's the execution that needs to hasten now. So back over to you, Gwyn.
Thank you, Martin. And I'll just like you to keep your video on because we'll continue with the next question with you. What do the Sustainable Development Goals mean for your organization and your operations, and why do they matter to you?
So I think I get asked that question a lot, and it's a very good question. For me, it's sustainability and agriculture are inextricably linked. I don't think you can be a successful agricultural business, especially in the large scale that we do it, without having sustainable drives in your business anyway. And I say this recognizing the fact that the whole SDG approach to driving business may be 20 years old, but in some of these global big enterprise agricultural businesses, we've been trying to be sustainable ever since our inception because that's what confirms your future. That's what secures what you want your great-grandchildren to find a business that you worked in that left them something to also work in. And the key reason for that is our main primary resource are issues of the environment, the soil and water as basics, and then people. And so for me personally, having worked in other industries out of agriculture and having sustained an interest there in the pharmaceutical industry, in the services industry,
I don't know if I'm the only one who can't hear Martin.
Yes, he's frozen.
Okay. So maybe we can go on to Robert. I think Robert, it looks like sustainability and your business are inextricably linked, right? From what I know about your business, you take on sustainable projects. Why was it important for your organization to do so? And why does it matter in general to our economy?
Okay, thank you very much. For BUSIS, the SDGs mean leaving no one behind in economic development, social inclusion, and environmental protection. We believe that technology is a transformation tool that can help bridge inequality gap, especially in developing countries. Globally, 71% of the world's population live in countries where inequality has grown. Focusing on where the world is today, that is the COVID-19 era, technology is pivotal to leaving no one behind. For example, it is estimated that 71 million people will live in extreme poverty due to the pandemic. We at BUSIS have invested in the development of social protection digital solution that enables the distribution of financial and non-financial aid or relief services to poor and vulnerable households. We have developed a solution for government initiatives in Lesotho, Ghana, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. During and post-COVID era, such solutions are critical to providing aid to the estimated 71 million people that are going to experience extreme poverty due to the pandemic. Beyond delivering aid to vulnerable households, social protection management information systems also help eradicate corruption and embezzlement of funds that limit the value of services that vulnerable households benefit from. The SDGs are global goals that requires harmonized initiatives. At BUSIS, we believe that digital solution can ensure that decisions and initiatives are aligned to attain these goals. For BUSIS, we prioritize working with clients that advance the SDGs and invest in developing human resources that understand the role of technology in attaining the SDGs. Thank you.
Wow, thanks for that, Robert. You know, as you were talking about corruption, I was just thinking to myself whether we have considered the interaction, the link of sustainability with corruption, which is something that we face inextricably on the continent here. So I think, like you're saying, we can't think about sustainability as a purview of specific companies, right? If it's linked to our day-to-day activities, and business, as we said earlier, is one of the best ways through which we can begin to drive sustainability. And now to you, Gladys, I know that in your business you support CEOs or founders or companies who want to begin on this journey. So what do the SDGs mean for you in particular, and then also for your organization? And why did you choose to have a consulting firm that delivers on this?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nguyen, and the other panelists. Yeah, so when you engage in companies, the first encounter, the first thing they tell us, we want to be sustainable and we want to be future fit. And so what we're mainly trying to do as we are working with enterprises is helping them achieve this. Is it possible for you to be future fit? And what is that pathway for you to actually attain to be future fit? And how we actually use the SDGs is they give us this framework that, we're able to actually support enterprise integrate some of these sustainability practices in their strategy as well as in their business model. And if you look at, for instance, our work around sustainability advisory and training, as well as strategy development, it's centered around strengthening the capacity of SMEs or even the enablers in the ecosystem to really come up with ways of either creating decent work, either coming up with ways of formalizing enterprises. Because if you look at the opportunities of SMEs in the economic sector is huge, because we've seen that SMEs are great enablers in creating employment. They're great enablers in advancing the growth, the GDP of a country. So with us working with these enterprises, I can give you an example of our work with enterprise support organizations. You know, these organizations that are supporting SMEs, create jobs, have social impact. And you can see this is tied to SDG 8, which is about decent work and economic growth. So with us working with these enterprise support organizations, who include institutions that are either providing capacity building, either an accelerator or an incubator program, or even just a program that, or an NGO that is trying to, say, support farmers, enhance their production, or even just enhance their capacity to do value addition, or even export their products. You know, this whole idea of us providing them with a skill set for them to formalize and grow their businesses, we see, even access financial services, we see is a way of us advancing into SDGs. We're also taking, there's another program where we're working, where we are supporting SMEs and even organizations that are this enterprise support organization consider occupational health and safety and the wellness of employees in their day-to-day running. We realize that looking at SDG, the SDG on health and promoting of well-being, which is more of goal 3. You know, we realize that you know, you need to have a healthy staff, you need to have a productive staff for you to actually you know, advance your business. So we are supporting enterprises in telling them, hey, put in place policies that actually promote the well-being of your enterprises. Ensure that your employees are taken care of, so that, you know, you're able to make money. Because if you don't take care of your employees, there's no way that you're going to advance your business. Just give me a minute, Ngwin. Maybe you can just go ahead.
No worries, thank you. We completely understand. Back to you, Martin. I think we had lost you earlier, and we had gotten part of your answer to the question. I think with this next question, feel free to add on to it. So our next question is about the business value and impact. Since you had mentioned earlier that from the beginning, being in an agricultural business, sustainability was important for you from the start. And I think that maybe it would be helpful for us to understand what business value and the impact that you have seen since aligning your business model and operations with the SDGs. And you can add on to that what it means for your organization. Yeah.
So thank you. And once again, apologies. I think we're having some connectivity challenges. Hopefully they don't come back. Yeah, but to me, without necessarily belaboring the point from the earlier question, I personally believe that if you're not thinking about sustainability as the primary foundation of the way you set up your business, you're mortgaging your future. You're mortgaging your ability to be able to affect your impact, not just on the environment, on people, but more importantly on the planet, and critically for businesses like ours that look for profit, on your ability to make that profit. And so it's really critical. So our journey with this is a bit of a mixed bag, because like I was explaining earlier, the fact that we are in the agricultural space, we do some of these things by default. We don't know, and since 1952, if we were not, empowering our employees and our customers and our suppliers to be sustainable in what they do in support of our value chains, we wouldn't be here today. And so when the SDGs came on, companies like Sassini and similar agricultural setups globally found themselves in a position where, what do we do now? We've been doing this, and how do we start doing it formally? But I think it's critical to formally join the process with regards to assessing yourself, using things like the SDG Action Manager to set your baselines, get to know where you are, and that really helps you to start defining which goals to focus on. Like Judy was saying earlier, if you choose randomly without some guidance, yes, you will have some good hits, and yes, you may make some good choices, but you may also miss something that you could do and be very impactful in to help you, be more positive with the work that you do going forward. So in our case, that whole process has ended up with us having 9 SDGs. Without belaboring why we chose those 9, we feel there are areas where, one, we can be very impactful, and two, they affect our business. So that second point of affecting our business is the critical link of why we do this. If we don't do this, we see a negative effect. If we do these things, we see a growing and positive impact of the way we manage our value chain, right from the soil where we plant our crops, all the way to the shelves where our customers encounter our products. And so they're very critical there. Another issue for me, and the value that I've seen, certainly in Sasini PLC, across the whole organization, is leaders buying into the concept and starting to live this, and then it becomes a culture. And so, just like environmental health and safety is a culture of most organizations, the sustainability goals start to become things that you think about in everything you do all the time. And so that's the level at which I think an organization can start saying they're being successful, when it becomes part and parcel of a culture.
Yeah, certainly. I like the aspect of it becoming part and parcel of culture, where you're not after the fact trying to measure your impact, but it is in your day-to-day decision making. So then what happens is it trickles down even to the employees, because when they come up with solutions, or when they do their jobs, they continuously think about what the effect they are having to the planet and to themselves and the community as well. Robert, over to you. I'd like you to share with us, why did your organization settle on using the SDG Action Manager tool to monitor and report on your progress towards the SDGs?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in the development of our annual business targets, we ensure that all targets and KPIs metric are aligned to the SDGs, more specifically, the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact. The SDGs are broader and mostly provide us with targets that are aligned to our services. The 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, on the other hand, gives us an internal look on what our business processes are and how they can be enhanced in the coming year. We publish our progress in our communication on progress, the COP report, which is shared with the UN Global Compact for accountability to our people, for recognition and motivation to do better. And finally, our stakeholders, who continuously provide recommendation on how we can improve. To ensure that we are assessing our progress continuously, we have quarterly management meetings and monthly general meetings where we discuss our progress and what initiatives can help us attain more. The SDG Action Manager tool is also critical to us. Internally, we use the SDG Action Manager tool as an objective way to track our progress, determine and prioritize our next line of action. For example, through the SDG Action Manager tool, we have taken action to set up a company advisory board. It has also enabled us to identify the need to design training programs targeted at building the skills of women software engineers, given that majority are in entry-level roles due to the low level of women pursuing and graduating from science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-related programs. It also sets the pace to discuss more objective standard operating procedure of assessing the performance appraiser of employees on a continuous basis. Yeah, thank you very much.
Wow, I like that. Every year we do our New Year resolutions and we set goals, and coaches tell us that if we don't have goals, we don't achieve anything. I like to think the same in terms of business, right? So businesses do strategic plans, but I feel that as we are talking about the SDGs and the goals that you can set, actually get down to finer details per department to say we want to do X, we want to do Y, and then you track yourself. So I like the way you're using the tool with your team to set goals on what you'd like to achieve. I'll go back to you, Gladys. Have you use the SDG Action Manager tool? Do you use it with the businesses you consult with? Do you use it within your business? And why, if yes, why did you think that this tool would be good for you?
Yeah, thank you so much. So working with businesses, the first thing, because as I said, we work a lot with SMEs, and we work a lot with SMEs in different value chains, be it agriculture, be it energy, renewable energy, be it water and health as well. So when we provide advisory, or when you're looking at their strategy, you know, and we are looking at how are you going to grow as a business for you to become sustainable? So they ask us, so how do we actually develop a pathway to that? So of course, there's a training and there's the advisory you give them as an institution, because we have consultants and we have a team that is well skilled in thematic areas around sustainability. But then also the SDG Action Manager becomes a tool that we actually tell them, you know, this is how you can document, because for most small and growing businesses, the challenge is they consider small wins as, you know, nothing worth documenting. So we tell them, fine, is there any way in which you actually, if you're working with an agricultural company or even a company that is in the health sector, we ask them, how is it that you're actually promoting social impact? How many beneficiaries are you reaching? What have you been able to measure the amount of, you know, impact, say, among your beneficiaries, be it children, be it women? Can you document this? Because first of all, we tell them, can you first of all document the small wins or the small impact that you're having in your enterprise? Then now you can come and use the SDG Action Manager to do this. And first of all, SMEs actually tend to ask you, have you used it? What has been your experience before you tell us to use it? So for us, our approach is because we first of all did the Bay Impact Assessment. And so the Bay Impact Assessment helps us to actually look at the different, and then we now transitioned to the SDG Action Manager, because you're able actually, after you do the Bay Impact Assessment, it also gives you, you know, an overview. Okay, this is how, these are the SDGs that your business is focusing on. And this has also helped us to even map our strategy. For instance, in this year, we're also doing a lot of advocacy work. Like currently we are running advocacy around climate change. We realize that climate change is a big issue, and SMEs think climate change should be addressed by the SSINIs, you know, it should be addressed by the big corporates. But then we are telling them, you know, as an SME, there are small things you can do for your business to actually promote climate change. So we are running a campaign which is Path to Net Zero, and we are realizing that building capacity, providing tools, resources to SMEs in the simplest terms. You know, this is how, as an SME, you can actually address climate change. You don't really have to commit to net zero. No, what is that pathway for you to achieve that? So I think in short, what I'm trying to say is, we use the tools, and so we use our experience to advise the SMEs we work with. And it's a process, because SMEs are very preoccupied with running their businesses. So it's about how do they first of all document the small wins in their own way, and then now they can actually use the SDG Action Manager to track their progress, because that's the only way to achieve sustainability. You can only achieve sustainability once you have a baseline of where you are and how actually are you advancing in the different areas of impact. And so that's how we actually do this.
Okay, thank you, Gladys. I like how you say small wins, right? A lot of times we see SDGs as a huge thing that would cost us a lot of money to be sustainable. But if we start setting small goals, which we can attain with our current budget, we begin to increase the goals as we go forward. And since you touched on Sasini, I think I'd like to just end with Martin and say, maybe you can tell us why your organization felt the SDG Action Manager tool was appropriate, and then give us your parting shot so that we can have time for Q&A.
So I think I alluded to this a bit earlier. You can look at the 17 SDGs and, you know, cherry pick the ones you think you can work on. When you do that, yeah, you'll get a set of goals to work with, but you lose the impact of assessing yourself to see whether your choices are correct or not. And that's what the SDG Action Manager does for you. If you go and just, fill in the questions, take your time. It's not an extensive amount of time you need to spend on it. I've been on it myself. That just shows you the level of seniority we want involved with these tools, because they really are helpful. And why reinvent the wheel if there are tools out there that can help you make these choices? And what it ends up doing at the end of you answering the questions, doing the baseline surveys, it spins out for you suggestions on areas you should focus on. And in fact, it doesn't limit you to those areas. It allows you, if you fail, say it gives you 5 goals and you feel, gosh, no, we can do more. You can add a couple of goals on there, as long as you have the ability and the capacity to drive all those goals to success. And so for me, I would encourage anybody who's thinking, and I would imagine all the participants on the call are serious about running sustainability programs in their businesses. If that's your goal, use this tool to help you remove the doubt that you may have of whether you're choosing a good goal or a bad goal, and remove the bias you may have in choosing a goal that is a low-hanging fruit, because it's easy to do because you've been doing it. And we had that dilemma. And so for us, the SDG Action Manager has been an excellent a part of this sustainability process, especially for people who are at the very start of the process. It really helps you. There are other programs that I'm sure with time you'll get to expose to the group, the accelerator program, for example, that also helps you to get to even greater goals. It helps you to assess yourself as well. It helps you to compare your results with others, whether they're peers, smaller or bigger, and to share your success stories. And we think that the reason we like it is because it also makes us accountable. It makes us, want to show what we are doing. And for us to show what we're doing, we must do it fast. And so it's really a good tool for that. My parting shot would be, what is the single most thing, if you asked me, in my experience here at Sassini and in other organizations where I've been and I've been involved with sustainability, in driving a successful entry onto the program and ensuring that you stay onto it and you do actually contribute to deliverables that are conducive and positive for the goals. For me, it comes from leadership. It comes from having this accredited at the highest level in your organization. If you are the CEO, like Robert and Gladys and other leaders of the call, you gotta own this. You have to drive this right from deep in your heart. You've got to believe it, and people have to see your passion for it, because then if it means that much to you, it's gonna mean that same much to your leadership team and to the people that they lead and to the whole organization. And so leadership is really critical. It's not so much about what you choose to focus on. The tool will help you to do that. But if you can lead with passion around this thing and really believe that the small little actions, like Gladys has said, the small little actions you take really make a difference, you are going to see a difference in the world. So I would say lead from the front, own it, and be passionate about it.
Excellent. Passion equals to execution, all the way down to the last person in the organization or the newest hire, right? Robert, your parting shot?
Okay, yeah. So I would say start with your people, building on what Martin said. At Buses, we began with enrolling all employees in online courses offered by the SDG Academy, to ensure that employees understand and have a personal commitment to our shared vision of being SDG aligned. Secondly, I would say take advantage of the tools and resources available in the UN Global Compact, such as the SDG Action Manager 2 and the SDG Ambition Accelerator Program. These resources have been instrumental in developing our pathway on how to align with the SDGs. We need an intentional commitment to use at least one of those resources to integrate the SDGs in our businesses, business strategies and operations. You'll bear with me that no business is the same, but we all have people, product and or services. Preferably, I advise beginning with people because they help create and execute the strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It looks like the recurring theme that works is do it with your people. Don't do it alone. Bring them on board, educate them. And one thing I don't know if we have said on this call is that these tools are free for you to use. So it's not an added cost for your business. Gladys, your parting shot?
I think for me is a call to all SMEs listening in or just wanting to pursue this path. What COVID-19 has taught us is, for you to be resilient and for you to survive in the long term, you have to set yourself apart. You have to set yourself apart in terms of your practices, in terms of your vision, in terms of your people. And I believe as a business, you need to reflect on how is my business actually having a social impact? How is my business having an environmental impact? How is my business improving the lives of those around me, including your own employees? And once you just sit down, take a notebook, record just those things. And then from there, you now ask yourself, okay, looking at the SDGs. And I think there are so many resources, including from the UN Global Compact and also from BLAB, that actually breaks down the SDGs in simple forms. And just look at what you've written down on your notebook and try to see, okay, where do you think we align? And then go to the SDG Action Manager, speak to guys, as in I think UN Global Compact and BLAB, they have an extensive list of people you can actually consult, and I think they can connect you. So I'm calling on all SMEs. It's not really a hard thing to do. And for investors, they're looking for financials, they're looking for people who are different. They're not looking for one size fits all. So let's take up the challenge. I think COVID-19 has taught us enough, and let's just advance our businesses towards sustainability and resilience. I think that's my parting shot.
Thank you, Gladys, and thank you, Robert and Martin, for taking the time to come and share your experience and to encourage all the participants. We now move into the question and answer session, and some of the questions here are not targeted to specific people. So if you'd like to jump in, please go ahead. David Osamba is asking, in your view, what are some of the critical areas or ways in which big business, given their superior resources, could collaborate with or support SMEs in tackling the SDGs in their areas of operation?
Allow me to take that if it's okay with you, seeing that I guess that big business resonates with Sasini. There are so many things we can do, and there's so many things we are doing. When this started many years ago, some of the companies saw it fit to, for you to implement the SDGs across your value chain, it means you have to affect people outside of your organization, your suppliers, for example. A lot of those are small and micro enterprises. And so if you really truly believe in this and you're running it for your organization, I think it's imperative for you to then, one, insist that those who are supplying you do the same. For you to insist, you've got to assess their ability to meet those needs. And if there's a way you can assist them in being able to meet those needs better than you need to do that. A lot of big businesses just say, hey, this is the sustainability platform you must meet to supply me, and they don't really care whether you are able to do what they're asking you to do or not. We've chosen not to do that. Our approach is, if you've got some sustainability needs that can help you contribute, that we can help you to achieve, we will work with you, and knowing that this is not a short-term thing. Yes, we got 10 years to achieve the goals, but you're not going to do this in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months. You've got to have a strategic view. You've got to have a long-term execution platform as well. And so it is a commitment we give. So if there are SMEs on the call that are struggling with, how to start, where to start, who to support you, they support all over the place, whether it's big corporates, the UN Global Council, B-Lab, or other organizations or similar sized setups that can help you. Talk to us, come and tell us. It's not always about money. It's not always about give us funds to do this. A lot of these things are achievable without funds. And so what I would encourage going between the big corporates and the SMEs is that interaction in dialogue. This kind of similar setups where we talk to each other to try and share ideas. There's quite a bit that we can share that we've been successful with, that small businesses may not think about because they don't have the resources we may have in people, in talent, and in money. And so we can share those successes with them.
Thank you, Martin. And I like that suggestion. I think it's something that we would plan to do more, to have these forums. The one thing also I'd like to highlight is that Absa Bank, in collaboration with Strathmore, launched a program for its suppliers, which is basically a program that takes you through what is sustainability, what are the SDGs, etc., and finishes with the SDG Action Manager. So I don't think it's exclusive to Absa suppliers only, but those are some of the resources that you can look into if you're on the call and you're wondering where to start. The education is there. Robert, I'd like you to answer the question also from a Ghana perspective. What have you seen that's happening in Ghana in terms of bigger companies supporting SMEs, and any collaborations that you think might be helpful for those attending this call? Sorry, okay, good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so what I've seen happening is increasingly we are seeing that the SDGs, when you align yourself with the SDGs, it brings about kind of credibility to business partners. And businesses are now looking for businesses that create sustainable value beyond business as usual to do business with. So it's getting to a point, like Martin also said, where big corporations have a checklist, and for them to do business with you, they will need you to be a sustainable business before you could be considered. For me, like we've all discussed over here, the UN Global Compact has provided enough tools. And it doesn't matter how big or small your organization is, you need to start from somewhere. Start using the tools to assess your impact, to measure the impact that you are making. Because it will get to a point, and that will happen, where businesses would like to do business with those who have sustainable value. So please, it's never too late.
Thank you. There's a question from Genevieve. She's asking, and I think Gladys, you'll be a good person to answer this. What's the ideal number of SDGs to focus on as a medium-sized business?
Okay, thank you, Genevieve, for the question. As I said, if you're an SME that is starting in this journey, as I said, the most simple way to do this is looking at the 17 goals and maybe identifying, say, top 2 and 3. Where I'm talking about top 2 or 3, it's because, you know, as the other panelists have said, you know, you need to lead from the front and you need to engage your staff. So imagine engaging your team around, say, 6 or 10 goals. You know, it can really become cumbersome, taking into consideration the nature of medium and small enterprises. So what you're asking, you look at your stakeholders, who are your customers, who are your suppliers, who are your investors, who are your shareholders, you know, and what is the most effective point of entry, even as you start engaging your staff with the SDGs. So as I said, you just sit down, come up with a notebook and just write down what your impact has been, because the SDGs is more of reporting on, you know, an outcome of your business activities. And then from there, identify the top 2 and 3, and then you choose to report on the same. So for instance, if you're a medium small enterprises and you're looking to attract say, financing or funding or even partnership within a certain sector. And so you need to align your SDGs towards what that sector is all about. For instance, if you're in the clean energy sector, trying to look on how you can actually meet some of the targets that are set around along that SDG can really be useful, because as you're engaging your stakeholders, as you're engaging your staff, as you're engaging even your financials and your funders, you have a point of you can actually resonate from, and it makes engagement easier. So identifying top 2 and 3 to start an engagement with is crucial for you to build that business case and that story of engagement, even as you proceed, as you progress. I hope I've understood, I've responded to your question.
Yes, I think you have. Now, Martin, I have a question regarding buy-in from your board of directors. For some organizations, they have to get board buy-in, and you being representing a large organization that's listed on the NSE, was this a difficult journey for you to get all your other directors on board? And if so, maybe you can give some tips on how to start the conversation and bring all the members on board.
So thanks, Greg. So for this particular board, no, it was actually very easy. And the reason for that is because of the nature of our business. And I'll talk in a short while about another board I've sat in where I had to fight a bit harder. But in the agricultural space, like I said at the start, you don't do this, you don't have business. And I guess anybody who sits, all the directors that I have, luckily for me, who sit on our board, have a very strong and good history with agricultural businesses. They understand where strategy needs to take us, but that strategy is dependent on where we've come from and what we've had to do in the 70 years of our existence to be where we are today. And so we brought it in when we were doing our strategic reviews in 2019, which ended up in our strategic platforms that guides our business for the next 5 years. It was one of the first goals I put on the table, and the way we designed that strategy was I came with my proposals, and then we debated those, and we narrowed down on the ones we felt were going to be most impactful for our business going forward. So it was very easy here, and I was very lucky in that context. Having said that, there are a lot of big corporate CEOs and MDs who struggle to convince their boards that they need to focus on sustainability because of the following reasons. One, it's very difficult to link it to profits. So people think it's actually not difficult, but it does look like it's difficult to link it to profit. And a lot of the businesses are focused on making money so that they're sustainable themselves. And to them, sustainability just means keep paying every year. So that means profit every year. So that's one of the issues. The other one is it sounds like a nice to have thing. And if you're not that well entrenched in business leadership, you don't really see how intrinsic you need to be involved with these goals for it to affect your business. And so to some businesses, it's not tangible. And so the best way, and what I did in my past, is show passion and find a way. And this is where the tools are really critical. The tools will help you to assess yourself in a manner that you can link these things directly to results on your income statements, on your balance sheets, and on your cash flows. For some businesses that without sustainability, they wouldn't be businesses. And so I would just say show passion. If you're the leader in that board, you need to then be the one teaching and training and talking about these principles all the time and practicing them. And like Gladys says, start with 1 or 2. Now, for big corporations, 1 or 2 is too low a bar, in my view. And the other point I wanted to make there is a lot of these goals are interlinked. I guess for as an SME, 1, 2, and 3 is very good advice, and I agree with Gladys. For a bigger corporation, you can do more because they are linked with each other. If you look at the 10 principles or the 4 thematic areas, when you do one thing here, it affects several goals. And so it's very important that, as a big corporate that has the resources in people, in expansiveness, and yes, in finances, that you don't restrict yourself to too small a goal. In the SMEs, start small, be successful, and then add on as you go forward.
Thank you so much. I think we have 2 minutes to the end of our call, and so I don't want us to run over. if I would summarize the learnings for today, is that the SDG Action Manager is a good tool for you to set targets and measure your baseline, and to answer the question that many people on the call have been thinking about, is whether there is support. Yes, there is support. Martin has mentioned that the large corporates do provide support. BLAB provides support. United Nations Global Compact also provides support. I think the key takeaway here is that sustainability is not a luxury. We all need to embed sustainability practices in our business for success. Success no longer looks as financial success only. You can be financially successful for now until the environment can support your business anymore and you go under, or until your employees figure out that there is a better way to work and they don't deliver for you in the same way. So thank you all for coming. I think it was a pleasure and it was a good conversation. I hope we all learned from it and took away something. Lucy or Tolu, you want to close?
Thank you, Gwen, Gladys, Robert, and Martin for such an insightful session. I just wanted to share with you other opportunities that you could plug into. So to continue with the momentum of equipping businesses with the tool and motivation to contribute towards sustainable development in Africa, BLAB East Africa is launching the SDG Impact Challenge. The challenge will help businesses adopt best practices that are aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. And the challenge is being launched next week on Monday, March 1st, and it's open to all businesses in Africa. Please look out for it, and we look forward to receiving your application. Another opportunity your business can plug into is we intend to host another similar webinar targeting sustainability practitioners, where we will dive deeper into the technicality and functionality of the SDG Action Manager and how businesses can get maximum value from the tool. Please also look out from this exciting opportunity that will be done with both UN Global Compact and BLAB. So now I'll hand over to Judy, who's going to give a closing remark. Over to you, Judy.
Yes, thank you so much, Lucy, and thank you so much to our speakers, Mr. Martin Ochiang, Group Managing Director, Sasini PLC, Ms. Gladys Kivati, Co-founder, Sustainable Business Consulting here in Kenya, and Mr. Robert Ochiang, Chief Executive, BUSIS in Ghana. I think this was a really exciting and engaging discussion with you all. And I think it's the first of very many other conversations that we want to have regarding how we can accelerate business action for the SDGs, especially in this last decade. We know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think as we started off, we highlighted some of the glaring gaps in terms of the progress that needs to be made. We talked about climate. We talked about the gender equality gaps. We talked about challenges even with poverty. And some of these things really resonate with us here in Africa. And I think Africa really is the birthplace of innovation and where we can really drive the most change and to see really the most impact that we can have for a better future. And so I think it's an exciting journey for all of us, provided we own this agenda. That's really, it's in our best interest as businesses, as individuals and as people who are living on this planet. So I think on behalf of the Global Compact Network Kenya, the Global Compact Network Ghana, BLAB East Africa, we look forward to engaging with you as we go along in different conversation, but more so to work with you and to guide you in terms of the next steps and how to actualize some of these ideals. So I think from this call, we'll be able to share additional resources that can get you started in how to apply the SDG Action Manager. As Lucy pointed out, we will also be having a practitioner session to really get into the nitty-gritties of how to really apply this tool. And as we've said before, we've already invested quite a bit in terms of the resources, the expertise, and the tools that you need to apply to deliver on the SDGs. So as businesses, you don't need to invest again, you just need to apply. I think execution is the word that we would like to leave you with as a call to action going forward. So with that, I'd just like to wish you all a lovely afternoon and the rest of the day. And to plug into the BLAB and Global Compact movement, where we seek to drive collective action and impact for a better world for all of us. So with that, do take care, and looking forward to connecting with you again very soon. Goodbye.